Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Teaching a Text with me, Triple T, also known as my actual name, which is Imani. Welcome. I hope y'all can come on in and get comfy with me. As y'all can see, I have a blanket. It's a throw blanket that's very soft and it's just very soft and smooth. And so hopefully y'all have something near you, on you, whatever the case may be, even if it's just your skin that is nice and soft and smooth, that is giving you some level of comfort and coziness. If not, y'all can go grab something real quick. I'll be here. So today is more of a chill and mellow Triple T video. There's no reason for that beyond I'm just feeling more chill and mellow. But because of that, I'm gonna open us off. I'm gonna do our intro song in a more chill and mellow vibe. So here we go with the intro. Call me Triple T, cause I'm teaching the text. No fear, daughter, here I got the triple threat. Especially with the spirit keeping me in check. I'm just answering the call. No collect. No collect. No collect. You can call me Triple T, cause I'm teaching the text. No fear, daughter, here I got the triple threat. Especially with the spirit keeping me in check. I'm just answering the call. No collect. It feels groovy, you know? It feels a little groovy. I don't know if it feels mellow. I had to do it the second time because when I deepened my voice a little bit, when I started singing a little bit more tenor, you know, my mama actually sings tenor. And so as I started singing more tenor esque, it felt more mellow. It felt more, mm, mm, as opposed to, you know? And so yes, I hope y'all feel welcome in, and I hope y'all feel comfy and cozy with me. Um, so again, welcome to another episode of Triple T. So the Teaching the Text series, if you don't know, is essentially a series that I'm doing here on my Casted Crowns YouTube channel, where on Tuesdays I'm releasing some form of art. Oftentimes it'll probably be one of my poems, and then on Thursdays, which happens to be today, I'm gonna be uploading a video that is me explaining the heart and mind behind my art. And so the poem that I released on Tuesday was entitled No. And so that's the poem that we're going to be talking about today. So, No essentially is about, if you haven't seen No, before I get too carried away, if you have not seen No, you can pause the video. I have a link in the description box, and then I also have a link here. So y'all can pause the video, go ahead and watch No. It's only about a minute and a half, so it'll be a quick watch. Y'all can come right back over here. Now I'll actually begin. But essentially, No is about setting boundaries and actually practicing the art of saying no, as well as navigating the internal tension that we sometimes might feel when it comes to no. So for me, sometimes it's a little challenging or difficult for me to say no because I want to be nice, or I don't want to be mean and hurt somebody's feelings, or I might not give a firm no. I might leave an option open just in case. But again, relating back to not wanting to be too firm or not wanting to hurt folks' feelings. And so essentially, the way that I open the poem is kind of trying to express that tension in an artful way. And so you hear me sounding out the the end sound and process of me actually saying the word no, but instead what comes out the first three times before I say no is or are other words that again they begin with in, but they simply are not no. And so yeah, it transitions from me sounding out the word no to no finally making its entrance, but then promptly being squished on by a butt that comes in. And so that's the imagery that follows. Just like some nice casual butt imagery, I guess. Like talking about like defecating and then also cushioning the impact of no, which I thought was very fun and artful. But also, it relates a lot to, for me, the process that I sometimes have where I might over explain my no's. And so I use the word over explain very intentionally because I think that sometimes there is something to be said about having a conversation with someone, or even in the name of healthy communication, giving an explanation for why you might decline an offer, why you might say no. I think there are like situations where that's like completely justified. I don't think every single no has to be a no, period, even though that's the title of my poem. However, I do think that there is a line between giving an appropriate explanation and then giving too much of an explanation and oversharing, or giving people too much business that really they might not care about or they don't need to know about. And I know for me, sometimes I'll be like, no, because XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And in the past, sometimes, especially when I was a little bit less comfortable with saying no, sometimes the over explanation, honestly, some of the things I was saying wasn't even all that true. Or if it was true, like it was more so an excuse for why I was saying no, as opposed to like the legitimate reason why I was saying no, which oftentimes was just, I just don't want to. I don't want to. So I would give like other reasons or excuses as part of an over explanation. And I think that's kind of when it turns into an over explanation, or when you're feeling the need to justify your decision within whatever context, whether that's personal relationships or in a professional context. When you're feeling that need to justify yourself, I think that's when we tend to lead, or I tend to lead into a sort of over explanatory space. And so yeah, that's kind of the imagery of the but and why I had that. And the issue sometimes with over explanation, or even the issue with not giving a firm no, is that that can lead to us leaving, as the end of the poem says, like we're leaving kind of a door open, and we're leaving other folks kind of in a state of expectancy when we know we had no intention of either desiring to do something or actually planning to do something. And so I think that sometimes that can just either not be fair to ourselves or fair to the other person. And so what I've realized, because integrity actually was my word of the year like 2 years ago. And so I've realized that as I've grown in my own integrity, part of growing in my integrity was realizing when just to like say no and set out with that firm, strong no. And that helps me to be an integrous person. I don't know if integrity or integrous is a word. We're gonna pretend like it is. I'm gonna hope that it is, but I actually have no idea. It sounds like a word. I don't know. But yes. So something that in this process of learning to practice my boundaries and actually enforce my boundaries, something that I've learned is part of me not enforcing my boundaries is because I had a lack of respect for my own boundaries. But what I've noticed is that that doesn't only apply to me and my boundaries, but that also applies to how I generally see boundaries. And so what that means is sometimes I won't respect other people's boundaries. And that's something I've noticed over the last few months. And so with that, I noticed that in a couple of relationships that I'm in the closest proximity to, and with people that I care, I'd probably say the most about, in those relationships, I noticed that I was not respecting their boundaries, or my feelings might be hurt, or I would get offended if they would tell me no, or not now, Imani, or whatever the case may be. And I realized that part of my own, one might call it a defense mechanism, I don't know, but part of my own, I guess my own reaction or my own response to them enforcing and setting their own boundaries was I didn't appreciate and I didn't really value my own boundaries, and I didn't value boundaries in general. And so something I would encourage folks to do is not only to practice saying no and practice enforcing their own boundaries, because I know that there's a lot of talk about saying no with a period. That no don't need no comma, it's a complete sentence. And I say all that as if I didn't just release a poem called No with a period at the end, because I think it's important. Firm no's. However, I think that we also have to do the work and the introspection to consider, if I'm not enforcing my boundaries, perhaps I'm not respecting other people's boundaries either. And realizing that it's all connected. How we treat ourselves, how we allow others to treat us, how we treat others, all of that is connected to each other. We're not living in a silo. We're not living isolatedly. Our lives, even though sometimes we might try to compartmentalize them, that's realistically, from a character standpoint, it was actually one of my friends was mentioning this the other day, but from a character standpoint, oftentimes our character isn't compartmentalized. How we're behaving in one area of our life also is how we're behaving in other areas of our lives. And so that goes for how we practice, how we implement, how we set, and how we respect boundaries as well. So that'll be my encouragement. Just do some introspection work as you're practicing that firm no. Are you, when somebody else tells you no with a period, does that offend you? Do you want them to be lenient with their boundaries? Do you expect them to be lenient with their boundaries? Is there a sense of entitlement that might be operating there? Just consider, just some food for thought. I don't know. Y'all can do some homework or something. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm gonna just give y'all 2 examples of areas in my life that I've had to say no to myself that has led to an epiphany of sorts. I'll give y'all the epiphany first. I've realized that in me practicing self-control and in me denying myself, my mom actually, she used the word denying herself or denying oneself, and I was like, yes, that word denying self is, that's the word I need. Those are the terms I need. Anyways, in me practicing self-control and in me denying myself, I had an epiphany a few months ago. And I was like, if I can do this for me, then surely I can deny other people. I can tell other people no. And not to be mean, but to truly value myself. So I got 2 examples for y'all. The first example, we're going to talk about some sour candy. So back in undergrad, which was a few years ago, when I was in undergrad, I enjoyed sour candy quite a bit. Some might say I was addicted. I probably would say I was addicted, even though addiction feels like such a strong word. Like I was literally having withdrawals from sour candy. Like it was not great, like experiencing withdrawal because I was eating so much sour candy. The cravings that I had for sour candy was really, really intense. And so because of this, as well as the consequences that came from me eating sour candy so often, namely the sour candy that I particularly enjoy is very gummy. It's very sticky, so it like sticks on the teeth. And so I would be going to the dentist office, and every time I was going, even though I was flossing regularly or brushing my teeth regularly, for whatever reason, I kept having cavities. And I was like, why do I keep having these cavities? And then finally it occurred to me, perhaps it's the sour candy that you're eating all the time. And like also sometimes I would eat it before I was about to go to sleep or something, and then I would feel too tired to get up and I wouldn't brush my teeth. And so it's like, oh, this sour candy is like sitting in your mouth and it's like low-key rotting your teeth. And so because of that and some other reasons, again, like I was having withdrawals, and that's not okay. It's not okay. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to limit my sour candy consumption. I'm only going to eat sour candy either once every week or 3 times a month, whichever one comes first, or whichever I'm kind of feeling at the month. But like at most 4 times a month, I'm only eating sour candy then. And so what that meant was when I would be at the store, I would have to deny myself. Like, Monty, no, we're not gonna buy this bag of sour candy right now. Or like, Monty, like I might get some sour candy, but then I would have to ration it so that I wouldn't exceed the limit that I had put upon myself. Because again, I'm practicing self-control so I can be a better person, and not be literally dependent on sour candy. And so with that, I realized that through me practicing self-control with the sour candy, one, when I go to the dentist, it's much better. It's much better. But more importantly, arguably, more importantly, I also realized that me giving up and choosing to limit something that I actively enjoy, for the betterment of like my own health and my own, in some ways, my holistic well-being, like that is actively benefiting me. But it also comes with the cost. It comes with the cost of me saying no to myself. And so because of that, like, oh, surely again, I can tell other people no. And the sour candy example, perhaps it's a little lighter. However, there is another example that I'll share too. So with me and my boyfriend, I got me a little boo thing or something like that. But with me and my boyfriend, we are practicing abstinence. And so we are not having sex until marriage, which again, that is probably pretty clearly linked to self-control and denying oneself and denying my own desires. Because the reality is, it's hard. It's difficult to be like, okay, we're not having sex or whatever, especially when you're actually in a romantic relationship with someone who you care for deeply, you have a deep affinity towards. And so part of practicing self-control is like, oh, we're not gonna do this or that, so that we're not putting ourselves in a position where we might be tempted, or where we might be inclined to say yes instead of saying no. And there was just one day when I started thinking about these two areas in my life where I was pretty constantly denying myself and like continuously saying no to myself and putting up boundaries for myself. So like with sour candy, part of the boundaries was like, oh, I'm putting up boundaries. I'm not gonna buy the candy from the store, or if I do buy the candy from the store, when I get home, I'm gonna try and keep it outside of my room. And sometimes it meant like on the way home, oh, okay, I'm gonna give this to someone else so that I can't even have it, forget it. And then with abstinence, part of boundaries is considering how we might touch or how we might interact and things of that nature, but then also practicing healthy communication with each other. And so because of that, just thinking about, oh, I'm enforcing these boundaries upon myself, I'm limiting myself. Surely, if I can say no to myself and I value myself, surely I can tell other people no, so that again, I am valuing myself. And so, those are my two little examples for y'all. Hopefully they were helpful. I don't know. But yeah, if you are practicing self-control in an area of your life, I would encourage you to just think about how you're practicing self-control and use that maybe potentially as a funnel to also drive you to practice saying no. And the last thing I'll say is just that when it comes to saying no, for me, something that's helped a great deal alongside this epiphany is I've also realized how in my relationship with God, as I've been practicing the gift of spiritual discernment and actually implementing my discernment, because I would say that I be wise and let me see, God be granting me wisdom, and God be granting me discernment. And I've noticed that time and time again. However, sometimes I don't always, like, I might peep something, or I might feel like God saying, don't do that, don't go there, don't interact with that person, whatever the case may be. And because of whatever, I'll choose to do it anyways. And so, with that, and I guess kind of in conclusion and kind of tying everything up, what I've noticed is that when we say no at the fore, when we say no at the beginning and give a firm no that's very clear, that leads to a lot of peace in the long run. It also leads to us saving our time and energy and our efforts in the long run, and we don't have to navigate like a sense of tension and a sense of unrest, or even navigating like, oh, am I supposed to be doing this? God, I don't know. When it's like, no, you do know. You do know. And so, yeah, I would just encourage y'all to say no at the beginning, especially in situations where you know that it should be a no. If you know, you know. If you know, say no. That's the one. If you don't, say no. But yeah, thank y'all so much. Hopefully this was helpful for all of y'all. And yeah, thank y'all for tuning in to this second episode of Teaching the Text with me, Imani, aka Triple T. I will see y'all next time. Be sure, if you like the video, like it, and then also subscribe to the Casted Crowns YouTube channel. And comment below how y'all are doing with boundaries, and if there was anything in this video that was relatable. And I will drop a comment as well that basically says that. So yeah, thank y'all. Bye.